Let's say that person that you were supposed to make proud, that person that you were doing everything for, let's say that time comes where it's too late. They're no longer here. People fail to cherish every single moment until those moments become a memory.
It could be a different day, but it's the same, homie. How you look me in my eyes didn't change on me. They done me dirty and I think they left a stain on me. They put the blame on me. So for your time up, go get it now. And ain't no telling where you wind up. From the bottom, I went through hell just to climb up. When they get gangster, you do not got.
Guys, welcome back to the Lion's Den. Got Daniel here. We have Derek here as well. A little bit of a different setup, but guys, listen, the value is going to stay the same regardless. So I know we all had interesting points and topics that we wanted to talk about. So I guess we can start off by first of all, how's your mornings going? Let me ask you guys that.
So far, not too bad. Another day in paradise. How about you, Darren?
My morning's going pretty good,
Pretty good?
Not too bad.
God bless.
Did you eat this morning?
I have not actually.
We were waiting for Daniel to.
Hey, we came on the podcast hungry, guys.
Yeah, Daniel was supposed to cook for us, but he decided not to. So
Hey, next one. Sorry.
So, guys, I mean, I know that you were talking about Daniel. We were actually just talking about the power of asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
How powerful is that?
So what I believe is that asking questions is actually one of the most beneficial things that you can do in sales, because think about it like this. Every question you ask, you get an answer or a hot button that customer is going to leave for you. Technically what that is basically ammo in your arsenal. So if you guys ask the question and then you tell them, well, I'm looking at this because it's more beneficial for my business and it's going to help, in this department. So we can use now is that question, that answer that they gave you, use it to tailor your whole pitch around it. Now you know why he's here, why he's buying the product, right? So all you got to do is keep hitting that why. And then once you get that answer, you get that close.
I do have a question for you. Is asking too many questions bad? Because if you asking questions is important, but wouldn't be
you gotta be
evasive and prying, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
What is the
100%.
perfect amount of questions asked?
It's not, I don't think it's the perfect amount. I think it's the right questions. If you're asking this guy about his life and all this stuff, there can be some beneficiary to those answers. But if you go too far, now you're getting stuck on a completely different subject. So you want to make sure you're asking questions relevant to him and what he's going to be using and applying this product for. And then from there, once you see, okay, I can help him, gain more salespeople or teach those salespeople how to sell. Now I know what his problem is. If I can, bring your company to X amount in the next 3 months and help you with your sales training, because that's the problem that you're having right now. If I get that fixed, would you, become a client of mine? Mm-hmm. And for me, I think those are the most important questions. Is really just trying to figure out why he's here, why he's shopping, what problem he looking to fix. And then from there, go about your pitch.
I mean, makes a lot of sense too. Kind of, I would say when it comes to asking questions, there's a certain aspect where you're obviously asking questions to gather information, but what you want to do is ask questions that are going to not only trigger a response in whoever you're speaking to, but get them to open up a little bit. So, maybe instead of asking why questions, ask how questions. How am I able to do this for you? If someone wants a lower price on whatever you're selling them, how am I supposed to do that? Let them answer for you.
Yeah.
When you ask people how questions, guess what that triggers? That triggers their creative side. When you ask them how, if I ask you how to do something, what are you going to do? You're going to give me a step-by-step list on how to do it. But if I ask you why I should do something, you're only really going to give me a one-line answer, and that's going to be because you need to, or that's up to you. So when you ask those how questions, you trigger more of a detailed response, because how questions are what's going to get people's creativity out, and it's also what's going to trigger most of their thinking.
I agree. Yeah. And a lot of it, you can't really start diving deep into those questions until you have built that rapport and that trust, because no one's really going to tell you anything until they trust you. So the first thing, like I said in, I believe our previous podcast, is that meet and greet. The first 30, 40 seconds, how important it is to get them to trust you, build that relationship with them off the bat, make them your friend in, 30, 40 seconds. And then from there, those questions are going to be easy because he's just going to open up and vomit all the information that you're looking for. And everything that you get from those questions is going to lead to that, close, that deal that you're looking for. And sometimes it doesn't happen the first day. Sometimes it happens with follow-up as well. Continuous follow-up. Maybe they weren't there that day, but maybe, after they sleep on it, they see, okay, I see the value that he was talking about now because I'm seeing all my salespeople run around hectic and doing their own thing. So I think this company is going to help me. So maybe, following up every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, just to get that deal closed is important as well.
So how would you tailor questions to different personalities? Because depending on the personality type of the other person, how you ask questions or asking questions in general, one, either make them pissed at you, to make them closed off, or you know what I mean? Just depending on if you're working with someone that's very like dominant, you're constantly asking the questions, you're in a way attacking their authority in their mind. But then if you're also asking questions to a lot of shy person, they're not going to want to talk to you because they feel pushed and rushed. How do you tailor those questions and the importance of asking questions to the different types of personalities?
Yeah, so I feel this is where the meet and greet is so important because you really got to analyze what type of personality type this person is. And from there, I mean, I would even start off with like, hey, I love your watch, or I like your outfit, I like your shoes. Get them to giggle, make some sort of commonality, because if they're wearing sneakers, like they're Jordans, 10 out of 10, he most likely likes Jordans, right? So if I started bringing up a conversation about something he likes, now we're talking about that, and he's like, okay, now I'm cool with this guy. I can basically trust him with whatever, I want to tell him. And I think that's why.
So the foundation of your question, from what it ties to, is this. Obviously how not to trigger people. So here's one form of asking a question that's going to trigger somebody. And that's when you ask why questions, right? So that's why how questions are more powerful of a tool to utilize. Because think about this: whenever you do something wrong, what do people tell you? They don't say, how did you do that? They say, why did you do that? If I look at you right now and I'm like, why are you wearing jeans? You're going to be like, is there something wrong with my jeans? Is there something wrong with what I'm wearing?
Yeah.
So another aspect is this: when somebody is a control freak and when somebody seeks control, because guess what they do? They talk nonstop, and they don't give you the opportunity to talk. How can you gain control over someone like that? You give them the illusion that they're under control, and how you give them this illusion is by doing this. You let them talk up until there's nothing left for them to say. And then at that point, basically, you have full leverage. They've already run out of things to say because they basically ran their mouth as far as long as they could. You allowed them to do so, giving them the illusion that they were in control, to the point where they got relaxed. They got too comfortable. And when they get too comfortable, they speak less, and that's when they become vulnerable. So there's certain aspects and certain traits that are going to trigger that. But most importantly, it's going to come from those how questions. How can I do this for you? How do you expect me to get here? Stroke their ego sometimes. A lot of people, they hold too much pride. But when the case of a negotiation or getting to the sale, a lot of times with these control freaks, it's nice to stroke their ego. Be like, man, I'm impressed by you. You know a lot about this product. You know a lot about this service, or you know a lot about this industry. I just want to understand, how can I make sure that I provide you all the value necessary to help you make an intelligent decision?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and what he just said is perfect because it doesn't sound desperate. I feel like when people are trying to sound desperate, it sounds like you're trying to sell them too much, and right then and there, they kind of back off like completely. Like the moment you press too hard, they're kind of like, I want to shop around. I want to go take a look at it. I want to think about the information you just gave me, just because they're feeling sold. When it becomes their decision, their thoughts, their, hey, like I'm asking a question now, making you think of the outcome, how it's going to look like. When it starts coming out of their mouth, it's basically its truth. When it comes out of your mouth, it sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, I remember when I first got into the car business, I had an issue of dealing with people like you were telling me about, or you just telling everyone about. And once I started like stroking their ego and making them feel like the top dog, they become so relaxed. And then I was able to sell them the car. Then at the end, they're like, man, how did you do this to me? And then, but it took customer after customer, and learning from Edison from that point, it was pretty cool. So
yeah, you gotta. A lot of times, a lot of people just like to feel like they're the center of attention. And I mean, this brings me to a point now that we're talking about this, and it's something that's been heavily on my mind, and it's Of course, not only does it pertain to a business aspect, but also relationships as well. And that's, identifying narcissistic traits in people. So it's something that if you miss out a lot on, especially if you are in a relationship with somebody who's a narcissist, you might end up getting sucked into a toxic black hole where next thing you know, it's hard for you to escape the relationship without receiving threats, without receiving some type of backlash, or without making yourself feel like you're important enough to get into another relationship and find true love. And how can we identify these traits of a narcissist? The first trait's always going to be self-control. So, or they lack self-control. They're not able to logic and reason with things. But most importantly, the reason because they're self-centered. They truly only care about things that are going to benefit them. So if you're doing something that they feel as though they reap no benefits from, guess what they're going to do? They're going to get closed off, and as long as they're thinking about themselves, your idea would never be enough for them. Here's another trait. So, they have the sense of entitlement. So they feel as though that they're superior. They feel entitled. They feel like you should listen to them and that they're better than you. So because they believe they're better than you, they would not listen and take anything that you say without you receiving backlash because they think you're attacking them for giving them feedback or giving them advice. So that's another trait of a narcissistic person. Number three is going to be they lack of empathy. So they truly cannot care less about what you're going through. They don't care about your situation. They're not sensitive to anything that you tell them. They don't care what you're going through because it has nothing to do with them. So for as long as it has nothing to do with them, they could care less. However, be very cautious because if something happens to them, they want to make sure that they're the center of your attention. They want to make sure that you truly care about them and that you're truly going to do anything in your power to basically wrap your arms around them and hold them tight and tell them everything's going to be okay. Another thing is they're manipulative or controlling, right? So basically, they use emotions to manipulate people. They would either express an overload of emotion, they would act overly sensitive to what you say to make you feel bad. They want to make you feel like you've done something that hurt them, even though it wasn't your fault. They're going to make it appear as though it was your fault. That way, you can feel like you're entitled to say sorry, or you can feel like you're obligated to apologize. You're obligated to offer a solution at hand so that they could feel like they had no wrongdoing in the situation. And then what's another need? They have a strong need for admiration. So they want to make sure that no matter what they do, you're gonna be like, oh yo, you did a great job, bro. Or they want to make sure that no matter what, you're always looking at them as someone who's perfect. They want to make sure that if they buy these are the worst people to get gifts from, by the way. You get a gift from a narcissistic person, you're never gonna hear the end of it. They're gonna give you a gift, and they're always gonna remind you of that gift they got. You be like, "Hey, listen, I know, I just pissed you off, but don't forget, I just bought you a laptop, bro. Yo, don't forget, I bought you chocolate the other day at Publix, dude. Like, if you're not from Florida, Publix is like a little supermarket we have. But so they demand praise from people. They want to know that people look up to them, that people admire them, because that feeds their ego. And when you feed someone who's narcissistic's ego, guess what that does? That makes them even worse. That makes them even more manipulative because they develop such an airhead that they don't believe anybody can ever match up to what they're capable of.
So like builds validation in their head.
Yeah, because they seek validation. They have a strong need for validation. They want to make sure that you approve of them. And a lot of times with narcissistic people, they portray this, they exude confidence. They exude this energy of, oh, I'm a go-getter. I can think on my own. I can do this on my own. Oh, I'm gonna accomplish this, and that. But deep down inside, they don't actually believe the words they say because internally they have self-doubt. Internally, they have insecurities. Internally, they feel shame. But what they do is externally, they try and portray something different to give you the perception that they are better than you, to give you the perception that they will be more successful than you. So that takes me to another point, and that was what I was mentioning earlier. They have a very hard time at accepting feedback from people. They take feedback as an attack. It's okay if they criticize you. And if they criticize you, by all means, you must do what they say. But given the event that you criticize them, even with constructive criticism, they take it as an attack. They take it as you challenging them. They take it as you not actually appreciating their hard work and their efforts that they put into things. And they struggle to admit when they're wrong because of that. So, for example, if you ever catch a narcissistic person doing something, let's say you catch them cheating in a relationship, they're going to take whatever you accuse them of and bend it. They're going to say, oh, the only reason I cheated is because you did that. Oh, I didn't cheat. This person just came on to me. Oh, it's not cheating because I didn't call them babe or baby, or I didn't call them my girlfriend or my boyfriend, whatever the case may be. So therefore, it's not cheating. So they're going to find every single way to bend it, or they just might make you feel like you're crazy. They're going to be like, this never happened. You're overreacting. You're overthinking. You're accusing me of something that I never did. I never said that. I never did that. And I never even went out to this place. I never even talked to this person. I don't even know who that person is. I think you're just overreacting. They try to make you feel as though you're crazy so you can stop second guessing their decisions and so you can stop questioning them. There's about 2 more points here. They're easily wounded. So that goes back to the feedback thing. They struggle to take feedback because they're easily wounded. You tell them one thing about their personality, you tell them one thing about how they do things, and they take it and it hurts them. They're like, "Wow, I can't believe that, you're criticizing me." If they see somebody is talking down on them, or if somebody doesn't like what they're posting, or doesn't like their content, or somebody doesn't like their personality, they take it and they get overly aggressive about it. They take it, and what ends up happening is you'll notice these people get very, very angry to the point where they lash out on people, to the point where they're yelling at people. They're trying to tell everybody that it's their fault that other people don't approve of them because they need approval. And then last thing will be lack of responsibility. So they don't take responsibility for things. They would rather play the deflection game, where instead of taking responsibility, they'll find somebody to blame it on, something to blame it on, or they'll just try to push it out for later and say, "Oh no, I was already working on that. Oh no, I was already doing this." But in reality, they're just refusing to accept responsibility for issues at hand because they don't want to believe that they did something wrong, and they don't want you to ever have the upper hand. Which is why if you're in a relationship with somebody like this, if you're in business with somebody like this, if you know somebody like this, it's very important to identify these signs, especially because the first way to notice this is that they are really self-centered. So when you first interact with them, you'll notice that they don't really care much about you. They'd rather talk about themselves, and they lift themselves up, and they kind of paint an imaginary image of themselves in order to make you, of course, seek approval, or in order to seek approval from you.
Yeah, in my opinion, these are the people to stay away from. These are usually the friends that, are talking, really nice to your face and then a lot of crap behind your back. And those aren't really your friends. Your friends are going to talk shit to your face and talk highly of you to their coworkers and everybody they interact with. And those are your real friends. You want to have those people that really tell you like constructive criticism to your face, and behind your back they're telling, hey, this guy's hardworking, his work ethic is good. And these are the people that you want around you, the guys that just want to better you, build you up, not the guys that are just trying to take all the attention from you, drain you. That's what I like to call, these are friendships that always looking for problems, always looking, to construct chaos in your situation. And for me, everything should be, hey, this friend's here to build you up, this friend's here to teach you, guide you. And your friendships, in a sense, it is what you become, the people you hang around with. So if you're hanging around with this guy that's super self-centered, basically what's that word, narcissist, I don't know why I forget that word sometimes, but yeah, narcissist, and all they want in reality is just to have what you have already. They're kind of jealous of that lifestyle, that you have a nice car, or you have a business that you're starting off with, and they're going to make themselves look bigger than what you are. And it's draining at the end of the day, because this guy's always going to be calling you. It's like, hey, when are we going to hang out, distract you from all the business stuff, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because I see a lot of friendships like that.
Where what they try to do is they try to keep you away from anything that will help you grow. Mm-hmm. And a true friend is somebody that you can be in a friendship or even in a relationship. Let's say you're in a relationship with somebody. If you can't grow within that friendship or relationship, chances are you should probably consider stepping away before it becomes too late, before it gets down to the point where you need to see a therapist in order to escape this person. You need to see a counselor in order to find a strategic way out of this relationship or friendship.
Darren, I actually have a question for you. You've been in a relationship for a really long time. I feel like some relationships are draining, like just like friendships, and others are, meant to build off each other. She's going to be supportive, help you set your goals, make sure you're on track on what things you want to do and accomplish in life. How do you, like, being in a relationship, how do you manage that stuff? Do you feel like you have to be straightforward with your girlfriend, let her know the goals right away or before dating? Or do you think it's something that could switch if, she's draining, spending too much time with you? Do you think you can just have a talk with her and it changes? Or you kind of just have to weigh it out, see once you speak to her, if nothing changes, then maybe that relationship is not meant to be?
So the way that I view it is, of course, there has to be communication. You have to talk with your partner, because without communication, you guys don't know anything, so there's no trust. You have to build that trust, not trust. But another thing too is like, with you and your partner, you both kind of, in a sense, you're walking different paths, but you're walking them together. Does that make sense? So like, for example, with me and Braun, she's supportive of me. She pushes me to keep going through and make something of my life, and obviously, like, she doesn't want to see me fail. So like, that's a good partner there. But my dream of Braun is not her dream. Her dream is something else, and we're both there to support each other to achieve our dreams.
That's right.
So you need to have that support and foundation, and she's always there. Like, if I need to go out and go do something last minute for my company to better my company, she's not going to sit there and be like, "Oh, you're abandoning me, you're doing this." No, she's going to be, "Go do it, go get it done." So there, she knows that this is my dream, and she's going to help me support my dream. So if you have it in a relationship, and you have a partner that sits there, and whenever you're focusing on a business, you're focusing on bettering yourself, and the first thing that comes to their mind is, "Why aren't you spending time with me?" Then obviously that's a little bit toxic, and you should kind of cut them out. You want to build something and be like, "Hey, these are my dreams, and this is what I'm going to do," and you lay that out to them at first. And then if they're with it, they're with it. If they're not with it, then you'd be like, "Hey, if this is going to be an issue, please let me know, because this will be my life."
Yeah.
You know?
And it's kind of coming to an understanding on what needs to be done and what you want to be doing.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, in relationships, it's vitally important. Relationships, if you guys don't have a clear goal or a clear set path, or you guys don't understand each other, the relationship will be a lot harder to kind of maintain. Most importantly, too, if you and your significant other don't have similar values, it's going to be very, very hard to see the same picture as one another. A lot of times, people would have similar energies, and because they have similar energies, they think that they're the perfect match for one another. But in reality, it's not about having the same energy, it's about having the same values. So that's why they say opposites attract, because you can have opposite energies, but just so long as your values are equal, if you both value the same thing and have the same end goal, it should be a lot easier to maintain and a lot healthier of a relationship as well. And it boils down to not just getting into a relationship with somebody just because everybody else is doing it, like we were talking about last time. But I mean, I'm I'm gonna piggyback off of that and start talking about this. And it's just like, at the end of the day, in business, in life, with your career, with your future and your goal, you need to have somebody, or you should at least have somebody that holds you accountable, somebody that you want to achieve great things for, somebody that's worked hard their whole life to give you the life that you have. So let's say it's a parent of yours, or let's say it's a mentor of yours, or let's just say that you want to make somebody proud just because they've done so much for you. Oh, some people might not have that type of person in their life, but for those that do have that type of person in their life, I want to kind of paint this image for you. I mean, because there's a lot of procrastination going on right now, right? It's many industries, with a lot of people. What I'm going to say is this: what a lot of people fail to realize is having somebody that you can think about, that you're like, I need to do this for this person. I need to succeed because I want to help this person. I want to make this person proud. People fall victim to this. They don't cherish every moment until eventually, let's say that person that you were supposed to, make proud, that person that you were doing everything for, let's say that time comes where it's too late. They're no longer here. People fail to cherish every single moment until those moments become a memory. And that's the number one thing that hurts a lot of people along the lines. Because now the only question in mind is, fuck, what if I would have went all in? What if I would have realized, okay, my time is shortening. Maybe I don't have as much time as I think I do. Maybe things would have been a little bit different. maybe you would have had that person there to say, listen, I'm proud of you. And the reason I say this is because I met with another individual about a month ago, and he was under a similar situation where his somebody that he saw as his father figure ended up passing away before he can do everything he thought he was going to do or he set out to do. And it was because of the thought that, okay, this person's always going to be around. I'm always going to have time to do what I need to do. And worst case scenario, I don't succeed. At least I know they have my back. But then what happens when that person's no longer here and the number one thought in your mind is this: what if I did go all in? What would that person be doing today? Where would that person be today?
No, it's true, and it goes back to always being grateful. For me, it's always been like, hey, I know my life sucks right now, but there's people going through worse shit, and it really comes down to, it's like, yo, like, do I want to sleep in bed all day, or do I want to get out of bed, go for a walk, work out, work on my business, do all that stuff? Because at the end of the day, there's someone in the hospital that can't walk, can't get out of bed, and is wishing to have the life that you have. So how can people get around that? Like, how do you become more grateful in certain situations, not knowing that, hey, this can be taken away from me? And I feel like a lot of it, for me at least, was always praying for me every morning, being thankful for the stuff I have, being thankful for, an apartment, a nice car, even being able to walk, take my breath, because I know how easy it is to let that thought slip away and know that you have everything but not be grateful for it. And I feel like that's a huge part. Once you start realizing, I heard this one quote where it's like, people have two lives. The second one starts when you realize you only have one. And I feel like that quote goes very hard, because at the end of the day, you got to realize, like, hey, my time is short here. So what am I going to do with my 24 hours today? I could die tomorrow. If I die tomorrow, am I going to be happy for what I did yesterday, the day before, that whole year? And it's all setting up the expectation and goals, because at the end of the day, you're going to have a family. You're going to have kids. These kids are going to look up to you as an example. What have you built as an example? Have you been a strong CEO? Have you been a strong worker in your company? Have you showed the values that you want to implement to your kids? Have you built that character already?
Yeah. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, no, you're
You're gonna
good.
keep talking. I'm gonna touch on what you said and what he said earlier. So, um, a lot of times, like, people would, when they hear your problems, a lot of people in the world would be like, "Those are your issues. That's what you're going through. Can we swap? Can I go through that instead?" So
Literally.
whatever is like making you like down, you don't want to move forward. Someone out there would 100% rather have those problems than the problems that they have today. And then from what Edison was talking about earlier, there's a lot of people that this goes with, even building relationship with your family members. You could have a bad spot with someone, right? And let's say you have a bad relationship with your dad, and then all of a sudden you haven't talked to him in years, and then all of a sudden he just randomly passes away. He's gone forever. And then you have that regret in there that you didn't build that relationship. You didn't even try to go out and reach out to him, because you know what I mean? You never tried. So now there's that void in there. I have kind of like personal experience, because I remember my grandpa, he was building a log cabin and he was building it by himself. And I was texting him and I was like, hey, as soon as summer hits I mean, there's summer break, I'm going to go out there and help you build a log cabin. Because he was like 60 years old building a log cabin on his own.
Yeah. Well.
And then as like he passed away like that.
Wow.
And that tore me up, because I was telling him, I was like, man, I will go out there. I'm going to help you build this log cabin, because he was out there in a trailer building this cabin by himself. And he was telling me before, like, I think like a couple weeks or a month before he passed, that like nobody in his family was contacting him. I was the only one contacting him.
Wow.
And I was the only one that said that I appreciated him and I loved him in like years. And that just like when he passed, bro, like I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, damn, no one in my family ever reached out to him or did any of this, and I was supposed to go out there. And it just like, it kind of was
No,
pretty emotional.
it's mind blowing sometimes, man. Like, even like, I feel like a lot of people, when they get older, like, you really start noticing who's there for you and who isn't. And it takes that time really to see, like, hey, this guy's all for me. He's gonna be with me when I ride or die 100%. He's my best pal, or in a relationship. And it's good that you did that contact with him, because in the end of the day, you don't have much regret, because you were there for him, trying to help him out. And I feel like a lot of people, get angry, hold these grudges for years, 2 years, 3 years, and all this time goes by, and so much stuff can happen within those 3 years that you will regret. You know, when that person passes away, you're going to be like, I wish I had another day. I wish I had another week, another hour, another minute. I'd pay millions, all my net worth, just to have, you know, another day with them. And you hear this stuff all the time. And it's really, you really got to be appreciative of that stuff, bro, because life is so long but so short at the same time. It's crazy. It feels like eternity, but when it happens, it feels like, hey, I only knew this person for like 5-6 years, you know, 20 years, 15 years. I want more. And it's hard to ask for more when you're not there.
That's right. I mean, there's one thing that you can never get back, and it's time. You know, and it's like we were saying too. If you have a bad relationship with somebody, like especially that's a close relative, like let's say your father or your mother or your sibling, whatever the case may be, and there's been a disconnect. Even if you don't have that, type of bond or relationship with them, reaching out to them and just letting them know that you're either there, you're present, or trying to at least rekindle that relationship that was once lost is enough to actually not provide you a fulfillment. But a lot of times there was a lady that was on Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins, and she hadn't reached out to her father at all, and for all she knew, her father was a deadbeat. But then after years of not reaching out to her father, she finally reaches out to him again because he was addicted to drugs. He was an alcoholic, but little did she realize he picked up those habits to fill the void of not having his kids around, to fill the void of feeling like a fuck up. So by her messaging him, he got very emotional. They built a very strong relationship for 6 months, and then he passed away.
Wow.
And it's just stuff like that that you can never account for. Things like that that you just never know. You never know when someone's time's coming up. So rather than hold a grudge against them for something that happened, try to understand them. Try to get an understanding of where they're coming from. And even if you can't seem to find a way to make reasoning out of it, it's important to at least acknowledge that you tried and you made the attempt to rekindle what was once a broken relationship, so that at least you have confidence in knowing that you at least put forth the effort to try and rekindle that relationship.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we had these conversations. I hope you guys gained something from this. If you did, just like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever the case may be. Give us some feedback to help us grow. Thank you for tuning in, and welcome back to the Lion's Den.
Like I said before, guys, on our other podcast, what we try to do here is create value for you guys. And if you see a friend or a family member that's going through times where this value can actually help them out, please share it. Please leave a comment. Please like, subscribe. It means the world to us.
Yeah, and I just wanted to thank everyone for joining in. And you got a little emotional, but, it's always a good time here. So stay tuned for the next one.
Thank you.